that moment when the networks declared that Donald Trump had been again elected president of the United States is starting to fade. We're moving into the heart now of his decision making. We're seeing a preview of what is to come. This is the warning. Donald Trump is assembling a cabinet of disordered personalities that is the most spectacularly unfit for serious responsibilities ever put together in the entire history of the United States. It is no exaggeration when I say that this cabinet threatens your life, your way of life, and world peace. It is a Fox News television cabinet, a freak show cabinet made up of fringe figures who would never, ever have been trusted with a position of public responsibility in any serious presidency from the beginning to now. And yet, Donald Trump has forwarded them to the United States Senate for confirmation. And we're going to look at all of these people. But let's start with maybe the most dangerous one, who is the prettiest one, and therefore, in America's culture, the one least likely to get the most attention that she deserves. Tulsi Gabbard is a freak show. She is a fringe politician with fringe beliefs, a Fox News workhorse who becomes Donald Trump's show horse and now is put in a position to undermine the security of the United States. Yes, Donald Trump won the election, but the United States Senate is a co-equal branch of government. Certainly it is the case that Donald Trump is the de facto majority leader, but there is some vestigial independence in the body, and we'll see if it is exercised with the big four so far. Pete Hegseth, spectacularly unfit to be the Secretary of Defense. This guy is a TV cartoon figure, a clown. A friend of mine emailed me a saying, and it said, when a clown goes to the castle, he does not become a king. The castle becomes a circus. This man will be the civilian chief of the world's most powerful military in the direct chain of command for the launch of nuclear weapons. He will preside over the world's deadliest fleet of nuclear ballistic missile submarines. It's preposterous. It's reckless. It's dangerous. And with regard to Pete Hegseth being a veteran, I don't care. It doesn't qualify him to do anything. The truth of the matter is, Pete Hegseth has made a nice living on being a veteran. He's a professional veteran, a Fox News veteran, a Fox News warrior who has been elevated because he stroked the ego of Donald Trump. The Pentagon has $1 trillion budget. The Pentagon is a mess. And it's been a management mess for a long time. And this clown will make it worse. He will be divisive, he will be political, and he will wreck the officer class of the United States military. He will strain its integrity, he will politicize it. There is no way that this fool can be confirmed. And any senator who votes yes on this is showing that they're no different than some footmen that would lick the boots of a Kim Jong-un or a Vladimir Putin, that they have no independent agency, they do not work for the people of their state, they do not care about the security of the country. What they care about is Donald Trump. And that is the recipe for a disaster that is already cooking and will spill out this time over all of us. Tulsi Gabbard, a fringe congresswoman, here is what she said when Russia invaded Ukraine. She blamed it on the fact that Russia had to take the action to prevent Ukraine from joining NATO. In Tulsi Gabbard's sick world, it was Western provocation that triggered Vladimir Putin's war of aggression that led to the kidnapping of tens of thousands of Ukrainian children, the rape of hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian women, thousands of war crimes, and 1 million deaths in the largest military conflict since the end of World War II. And she wants to be the director of national intelligence? Strike that. Trump wants her to be the director of national intelligence? Again, United States Senator. Does that title mean anything? Because Hegseth has to be opposed, and Gabbard has to be opposed. Not just one of them, both of them. but not just both of them, three of them, because Matt Gaetz has been nominated to be the Attorney General of the United States. This is sick. It's twisted, and it cannot stand. Now, Matt Gaetz immediately resigned from Congress on this nomination. He resigned because there's an ethics report about to be released that will detail in very damaging terms Matt Gaetz' love of underage girls. Put aside all the MAGA bullshit and everything about the election. The American people will tolerate a grown man in his 40s having sex with 16-year-old girls and make him Attorney General of the United States. United States senators will sanction that, affirm it, give their advice and consent to his cocaine use, to his drug use. Senate Democrats must demand the release of the House Ethics Report. It must be demanded that it be turned over to the Senate Judiciary Committee, where it should be leaked to the American people so they can see. Time to play hard, time to play tough, and do what is ever necessary to stop these nominations. Matt Gaetz, as Attorney General, is an abomination for which there really are no words. A privileged punk who's lived his life as a case study of the effects of affluenza and its capacity to turn a normal person into a mentally ill one. Matt Gaetz, at a different era, would have been shoved into a classroom for the emotionally disturbed. And he's going to be the chief law enforcement officer next to Tulsi Gabbard, the Russian useful idiot, and the Fox television morning personality whose extremist crosses disqualified him under DOD tattoo policy from being able to be in uniform and armed around President Biden's inauguration. Hegseth, Gaetz, Gabbard, and lastly, the one, the only, Corey Lewandowski's married mistress, the woman who gave to Donald Trump a likeness of Mount Rushmore with the Donald's head carved into it, Christi Noem, the governor of South Dakota. Together, these four are the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Christi Noem promises to implement, as one of Trump's most prominent sycophants, police state policies that we really don't know a lot about. Pete Hegseth is a cartoon, a clown. What do you think the reaction to a man or a woman who spent his entire life or her entire life in service to the nation, who rises to the position of commander, captain of a ballistic missile submarine, would think about this clown? Tulsi Gabbard, a useful idiot, somebody who looks at every problem in the world through the Fox News filter that shades her meager intellect and processes it through the prism of America's wrong and Russia's right. And every bad thing that happens is caused by something we did, as opposed to the malice of the dictators who made it happen. And Matt Gaetz, from investigated punk congressman, investigated for sleeping with 16-year-olds, investigated for cocaine use, to Attorney General of the United States overnight. So what do? We should understand as a people the titanic cost that we have purchased with the election of Donald Trump, who's going to turn around to the American people that elected him and say, and take as much as he can get. And he'll have the permission to do it because all around him, everywhere he looks, will be a sea of people who will never say the thing that cannot be said around Donald Trump. The new organizing principle of the United States government: never tell him no. The Donald can only hear yes to every idea, to every whim, to every abuse. You see, that's what it means to be loyal to America, to tell Donald Trump yes. And so it may not be on January 22nd, but there's a good chance it could be. The disaster will start to unroll. And it will come because literally the worst amongst us has been empowered with awesome powers handed to him by the American people. And there's nothing that anybody can do really aside from sue in the courts of law or rely on the good faith of a couple of Republican senators who will look out and say it's a bridge too far. But then, of course, one of those senators is Susan Collins. The pro choice senator from Maine who is responsible for stripping abortion rights away as much as Trump is from America's women? Will there be any opposition to Trump's worst impulses? We're about to find out. And if the answer to that question is no, then these four people will hold together more collective power by misfits than at any other point in American history. Reckless, dangerous, unhinged people. There will be no escaping the disaster, and nobody escapes it by tuning out. I suggest a different path: tuning in. Stop these nominations. They will be a disaster for America. This is The Warning. I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning, and I invite you to subscribe on our Substack, on our YouTube channel. Follow us. Welcome to the community.